Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. We're down here at the clinic in Frankston getting ready to see lots of lovely young patients, and can't wait. Got my coffee in hand, so all good. And I thought what I'd do while I'm waiting for my first little citizen to arrive is just say hello to everybody and have a conversation with you today around caring for or looking after people who are looking after loved ones who have a diagnosed mental health condition. My name is Dr. Storme, and I'm the Director and Principal Psychologist here at Cerebellum Consulting. I hope you're all having a really wonderful morning so far. I can see I've got a few people joined me. Hello everyone. So as you know from previous videos, mental illness in Australia affects around 20% of the population at any given time, and so there's a really good chance that someone in your household or someone in your family or somebody in your friendship circle has a diagnosed mental health condition. And I just thought, a lot of attention with my vlogs and with the information out there at the moment is all about helping the person who's been diagnosed. And what I wanted to do was give some attention to the people who are looking after that person. Because I think there's such a big support and such a vital part of a wellness journey for somebody, but they're often the unsung heroes and don't get enough attention or supports. So I guess when there's a diagnosis made of anxiety or depression, for example, a lot of the time these conditions can happen during childhood, sure, but as we move through the lifespan, we often find the onset for some conditions can be when people are in their late teens or early 20s. So, there's a good chance that this person, for example, with something like psychosis, could be living at home, or maybe they're living out of home, but it's their families often that are dealing with that, and it can come as quite a surprise if you're not knowing really what to expect. I think the other thing too is there's such a ripple effect in families when somebody is diagnosed with a mental health condition. If somebody does have a psychosis, maybe it's, for example, a drug-induced psychosis or something like that, perhaps they end up at hospital getting looked after. What this means for the rest of the family is that there's then a little bit of a ripple effect in terms of, now what does the family do? How do they deal with it? People in the family are concerned, they're stressed, they don't have any training or education, they don't really know what to do, and it kind of can throw a whole household out of whack for a little bit while they're trying to wrap their heads around what's happening for that loved one. The other thing that we know about families is they often find themselves in a caring role, and again, it's unexpected. And again, they haven't had any training, they don't know what to do, they don't know what's involved in caring. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job, and it requires a lot of balance, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But I think one of the other really tough things that I hear from my patients is that when they are looking after a husband or a wife or a child or a parent who's been recently diagnosed, they want to go along to the appointments with this loved one, and a lot of the time the health professional is telling them, well, listen, I can't share any information with you because this person has confidentiality and their information is protected by privacy laws in Australia. And I get that, but it's really unhelpful because when loved ones are dealing with a mental illness, sometimes we know clinically that their ability to think clearly can be compromised. We know that their decision making can be compromised. We know that their memory can be compromised. We know that their ability to attend to information can be compromised. So what kind of information are they giving to the health professional? sometimes you have to question that. And certainly as a psychologist, I take that on board when I meet with people as well. I have to be very mindful and very careful around the things that I think and say and do. But I think as health professionals too, we also need to respect the value that a loved one brings to a consultation, because they bring a whole different perspective on this person's well-being. They're over here, you know, they've got a level of objectivity and can give us sometimes very helpful information that we can use to help this person get better and have the treatment that they need and that they're deserving. But wow, how frustrating to be a family member and not be listened to by a health professional when you've got really useful information to share. So, okay, how do you cope when you find that, you know, you're in the position of a caring role now? Well, I guess the first thing that you want to do is be really open, not only with the person who's been recently diagnosed, but also be really open with all of the other family members that are living in your home, because they're all going to have their own ways of dealing with this news, and they're all going to have their own ways of coping. And there's no right or wrong way. You know, everybody's going to have a very personal, private and probably emotional response to finding out that, you know, mum's being diagnosed with something. It affects everybody. So, you know, some people can cope better than others or differently to others. And the way that everybody copes is valid, okay? It really is valid. And everybody has a right to cope in the way that's going to work for them. It might not be how you or I want to cope, but they have to find their own ways. The other thing is, I think too, when it's somebody that we love, we want to help them so much, but there's such a fine line between helping that person and doing everything for them. And when we do everything for them, it actually has a counterproductive effect, because then we're kind of disempowering them in a way, because we're taking away from their independence and we're taking away from their autonomy. So as a carer of somebody, really just try and ask yourself when you want to do things, is this helpful to this person right now? Or is it more helpful if I help them to help themselves? You know, maybe I can help them find different pathways to achieving whatever it is they want to achieve. The other thing too is, don't get overly involved. You know, we hear this term about helicopter parenting all the time, and you know, we know that there's some parents who are like all over whatever their kids are doing. I think sometimes when we're looking after people in a family with a mental illness, the tendency is the same. It's coming from a good place. We want to monitor everything. We want to be on high alert because we love them. And we don't want them to be upset, scared, nervous, anxious. We don't want them engaging in certain behaviours that might be harmful to themselves or to somebody else. So we want to keep really trying to monitor absolutely everything, and that can be problematic. You know, you have to find a balance in terms of, you know, looking out for them and getting overly involved. Another thing that's really super important is for yourself, find your own supports. This is likely to be, you know, surprising news that perhaps you didn't expect to hear, or this is something you didn't expect to be dealing with. So, you know, what you can do is arm yourself with education. Ask your doctor for information sheets on whatever it is, whether it's anxiety, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's psychosis, whether it's depression. Ask for a referral for yourself for some counselling. You have every right to access it. Hi Sasha, good morning. Hi Sharon, good morning. We're just talking about looking after people who are looking after people. So education is really important. There are lots of tip sheets available online that you can find that will give you information about various conditions, and the website Black Dog is really a good one for this. Also the Australian Psychological Society, I think it's aps.org.au or psychology.org.au are really good in terms of sharing information around different types of mental health conditions. I think you really need to understand what it is that this person could be going through, because that's going to give you a framework to understand some of their behaviours. The other thing is maybe yourself, look for some support groups. There are plenty of online forums that you can participate in, but do have a look around for one that's reputable and that you're going to get some value out of. It's great to have consumer and carer support groups, but it's also really helpful to look for ones that are perhaps moderated by a health professional, so that you know that the information that you're getting is sound. Maybe also thinking about planning ahead for when perhaps you might need your own time out, or you might need your own break. Caring for somebody can be really tiring and really exhausting because of the level of commitment that it involves and all the emotional stuff that goes into looking after somebody. So it's really important that you plan to give yourself breaks, but that there's also a backup plan for if something happens and you're not available, and you can develop plans with the rest of the family. It's really important too to understand your own reactions in life, and your own reactions in the family, and your own reactions with your friends are just as valid as those of the person who's been diagnosed with the mental health condition. Okay, it's not that they've suddenly got more say, or their stuff's more important. It's not. It's just different. That's all. Your stuff is still important. You have every right to every mood and every emotion and every behaviour that you want to engage in, just as much as the other person does. Okay, your well-being is equally as important as everybody else's in the family. Don't start putting people above you or ahead of you, because what's going to happen, and we see it all the time, is that you'll burn out, and then you'll get tired, and then you'll perhaps be at risk then of developing other things for yourself, and we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure you're nice and resilient, which is why we need to make sure that you've got a good plan for yourself, for your own well-being and your own self-care. So yeah, where can you go for help? Well, of course, I'm a psychologist, so I'm going to say come and speak to a psychologist. But there are other places that you can go as well. A mental health social worker can be really great. If you've got a good family doctor, a doctor that you've been with for a period of time, that knows all the different people and knows the nuances of your family, that person can be instrumental in helping you get the help that you need. Seek out education. We as you know, do these videos every single day, and I've still got, well, today's 40, so I've still got another 50 of these to do. But if there's a topic that you want to get some more information on, just ask and I'll be happy to do it. I'm always looking for new things to talk about. So really making sure that you've got balance, you've got your own self-care, understanding your thoughts and feelings are just as valid as the other person, and making sure that you get some education, some knowledge around what it is that you're dealing with is going to be vital in helping everybody get the best outcome here. And two, it's not all bad news. Remember what I told you in previous vlogs. We know that the data consistently tells us that 75% of the people who get a diagnosis and who actively engage in treatment get better. So bear that in mind, encourage that person to get help, and understand and hold on to the idea that 75% of these people get better. The condition's temporary and they get well, they move through it. It might bounce back in the future, but that's okay. You'll have a better idea of what you're dealing with then. You'll have a better idea of what works and what doesn't for your family member. So hang in there. You guys are doing such an amazing job. As health professionals, we only get the privilege of meeting with your loved ones every now and again, but you're living with them every single day, and you're doing so much of the supportive work and the supportive interventions, and you're just doing such a brilliant job. You really are. Keep up the good work, and remember to look after yourselves too. All right. This is Sharon says, yes, that's me. And Rachel says, great supportive info today. Thank you. That's an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I did see blue sky when I was driving in, so hopefully I'll get to enjoy that myself this afternoon. Sharon's saying, do you take clients with mental health plans? Yes, we do. So feel free, if you're wanting anybody to book in, just give us a call. The number is 8765 2434. And if you found any of this information helpful, it'd be really great to share it in some of your groups, because as you know, the whole point of this is to help as many people as we can. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, the ones who turn up are the ones who have the diagnosis, but we're also here to support the carers. And two, we know that for every one diagnosed condition, there are a minimum of around 3 carers in that person's life. So that's a lot of people. We're here to help. All right, have a lovely day, guys. I'll talk to you a bit later. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye.